Chapter 3, Ordeal in Vienna. I set out for Vienna on the 5th day of Tammuz, 1629, accompanied by Rabbi, who came along to intercede with the various government officials. Arriving at noon on Sunday, the 10th of Tammuz, we went straight to the offices of the Minister of Internal Affairs, but they were closed on that day. The next day, however, the minister was in his office, and he questioned me regarding my Ma'adanei Melech and Lachem Chamudos, which he contended contained disparaging remarks about the Christian religion. He spoke at great length, using harsh and abusive language. "Heaven forbid," I answered emphatically. "I would not dream of doing such a thing. No rabbinic book contains any reference to any of the things you allege. Our books deal exclusively with the writings of the Talmud, which is based on the Torah, the 5 books of Moses. Any Talmudic decree or ordinance regarding other religions refers strictly to the pagans and idol worshippers of old. And let me point out to you that throughout history, all writers of rabbinic literature, myself included, have been bound by the dictates of the Torah and the Talmud." There is no need to elaborate on the entire discussion, which revolved mainly around Jewish doctrine. It had no bearing at all on the title of my work, Ma'adanei Melech, The King's Delights, which, as I was told, supposedly had aroused Ferdinand's ire. This was not the source of the emperor's anger. I will describe the true reason for his displeasure in the coming pages. The minister concluded the interrogation, warning me, "On imperial orders, you are to stay in your hotel room. It is only by the grace of the viceroy's intervention that you are not placed in prison. You will be put on trial before a tribunal of Christian theologists who are well versed in the Hebrew language and who will submit their findings to the emperor." On Sunday, the 17th of Tammuz, the tribunal of theologians convened, and a judge in the company of 2 gendarmes arrived bearing an imperial warrant ordering my transfer to the maximum security prison. On my request, the judge dismissed the 2 gendarmes and led me to the prison himself, as an entourage of prominent Viennese Jews followed behind us, telling me to take heart and have faith. I remained in prison for 24 hours without any outside contact, but Baruch Hashem, all the other inmates treated me with great respect and outdid themselves trying to be helpful. The next day, I was assigned a private room, and I was allowed to receive visitors. On Tuesday, the 19th of Tammuz, through the intercession of my friends, I was transferred to the prison for political offenders, where I was granted the comforts of a table, a chair, and a bed. Since this prison was near the Jewish neighborhood, I never lacked visitors to cheer me up, and the kind-hearted warden gave me anything I wished. On Wednesday, the 20th of Tammuz, the tribunal went into session and my trial began. "Tell us, why did you extol the Talmud in the introduction of your work?" I was asked at the outset. "You knew full well, didn't you, that the Talmud had been burned by papal decree, and that the emperor, being a loyal Catholic, is required to carry out the Pope's edicts?" "We Jews are obligated to obey the Talmud, which is our oral law," I replied. "And the words of praise of the Talmud in my book were addressed only to Jews." Then they asked me again about making disparaging remarks about Christianity, and I gave them the same reply I had given the minister. This concluded the session, and I was led back to prison. On Friday, the 22nd of Tammuz, I received the verdict, which read as follows: "On the basis of the findings of the tribunal, you are hereby sentenced to death. However, Emperor Ferdinand II, being a compassionate man, has commuted your sentence, allowing you to redeem yourself by the immediate payment of $12,000. Furthermore, your books are to be destroyed by burning. Failure to pay the fine will subject you to the prompt execution of the death sentence." Alarmed and dismayed, I sat down to write an appeal to the emperor, thanking him for having mercy on me, but pointing out that payment of a fine of that magnitude was out of the question for me. The emperor, believing the exaggerated claims of my enemies regarding my purported wealth, turned down my appeal. Adding to the pressure, on Shabbos, the 1st of Av, the Minister of Internal Affairs told my friends, "If Rabbi Heller does not come up with the money, he'll be taken to 3 different city squares in Vienna, where he will be stripped naked and publicly flogged. He will then be taken to Prague, where the same public punishment will be meted out to him. I, the chief rabbi of the foremost Jewish community in the world, was to be humiliated in front of my community, something that has not happened since the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. Please believe us, paying this amount is far beyond the rabbi's means, my friends assured the minister. I have it on good authority from your fellow Jews, he replied, that he is rolling in money and that the sum of $12,000 represents less than 20% of his wealth. My friends insisted that his information was based on malicious lies. After prolonged negotiations, the minister offered to reduce the ransom to $10,000. I know for a fact, he stated, that all Jews are responsible for one another and have the obligation to redeem those who are imprisoned, especially so if the prisoner is an eminent personality such as the chief rabbi. You must understand, our religion forbids us to ransom prisoners for more than they're worth, the men replied. Isn't your chief rabbi worth $10,000? He angrily shot back. Look, either you pay in full or we'll go through with the floggings. Having no alternative, I asked for an extension to enable me to raise the money for the ransom. Finally, after much haggling, the following terms were arranged. $2,000 to be paid immediately. 6 weeks thereafter, a payment of $1,000. Subsequently, a payment of $1,000 every 3 months until the $10,000 were paid in full. I hereby want to express my gratitude to Rabbi Yaakov Bash, who contributed a note to cover the first $2,000 out of his own pocket, to the officers of the Vienna community, who donated $700, to my dear kinsman by marriage, Rabbi Chanoch Henach Shef, who contributed $100, to Reb Henna of Prague, and my son-in-law, Rabbi Wolf Slavis, who accompanied me to Vienna. May Hashem reward their kindness and generosity. I will refrain from mentioning the names of those who opposed the fundraising campaign on my behalf in Prague and Vienna, all the more so since these people all have died and their sins are forgiven. Nevertheless, they are guilty of one unforgivable crime. For when they became aware that my death sentence had been commuted, they connived against me in an attempt to induce the authorities in Vienna to remove me from my post as chief rabbi of Prague. I was still in prison at that time, and my release was delayed as a result of their false accusations. On Tuesday, the 18th of Av, the minister informed the people who were intervening on my behalf that I would be dismissed as chief rabbi of Prague. It was a calamity that stung me more than anything that had befallen me until then. I pleaded and cajoled, but it was to no avail. How would I support my family? I felt deeply offended and humiliated. It was only my faith in heaven that gave me the strength to endure the hardship and the pain.